Welcome back. More women are sitting at street corners and busy intersections with children asking for money. Should society be helping them, or is it just a scam? Our reporter Tshegohaco Moagi joins us now because she's been working on the story all day. And Tshegohaco, the city of Johannesburg has turned its focus to this situation. How many intersections do we know? Is there a number of how many people are at these intersections? How many women, children, and that sort of thing?
Well, Timbekile, I think that is the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems that we have within the city of Johannesburg. The MMC for Health and Social Development, Mpho Phalatse, she could not even give me an estimate as to how many women are sitting at various intersections. I think the main issue is that they move around from one intersection to the other, most of them. And of course, we do know that there had been a syndicate about how these children do not belong to the various women. So that is now the problem. We don't know how many women there are, and we don't know where to even start. They don't even know where to start if they had to move these women from the particular intersections.
But what complicates it is that while there's been talk of a scam where there are gangs who get women and pair them with children who aren't theirs, there are genuine people who are at the traffic lights because of poverty, because they need help.
That is very true. I did speak to two ladies today, both from Zimbabwe. And when I asked them why they're sitting there, the one said she was working until she got sick. She did disclose her illness, but she said to me that people are not hiring her anymore because of her illness. She said that she does have a permit to be in South Africa, she does have a permit to work, but because of her illness, she's not being hired anymore. The other lady did not really say why she's sitting at the particular street corner, but what she would like is to actually be able to build a house here in South Africa. And she's getting the money that she's getting, she does send some of it home, but most of it she's trying to keep so that she can actually build a house in South Africa so that her 4 children can actually come here and live here with her. And the odd thing about this, Timbekile, was that the 2 ladies that I spoke to, both the children that they were with, those are their grandchildren. So their children are back in Zimbabwe, and the grandchildren are coming here to be raised by their grandmothers, and then they sit on the street corners because of poverty levels and how they're just not being able to find work in South Africa.
Most of us know a particular beggar at a traffic light or a particular woman because you see them either on your way to work in the morning or on your way back from work. Where do they go come nighttime? Because a lot of them disappear come evening.
Well, when I spoke to the MMC as well, she mentioned that there is a shelter in Braamfontein at 3/4 Street. There is a shelter there, and it is an overnight shelter, so they're able to sleep there and actually get a meal also that night for about 8 rand a night. And these 2 ladies, they also sleep in such a shelter where it's an overnight shelter. They get a meal, they're able to freshen up for the morning, so they do have a place to sleep. It's just during the day that they have to somehow make an income, so to speak.
The 2 women you spoke to are from Zimbabwe, and the Johannesburg Mayor, Herman Mashaba, has made his views quite clear on illegal immigration. Will be able to establish whether they're in the country legally, and if the fact that the city has such a strong stance against illegal immigration has made them nervous to perhaps accept help from the city of Johannesburg.
There is the one lady that is here illegally. So she's here, she's okay, she's got the right papers to be in South Africa. The other lady did not really disclose that information, but what was also interesting was I was trying to speak to a 3rd lady, and she refused completely to speak to me. And I tried to explain to her that we will not show her face if she doesn't want her face to be shown, but she refused to speak because then I did get the sense that she could be here illegally. But she also sat at the street corner on 11th Avenue in Houghton with 2 children, one 10-year-old and one 5-year-old. But that was also quite interesting because when you ask the ages, I mean, a grandparent should be able to immediately tell you how old their child is, or even a parent, you should be able to immediately say, my child is this age. But this lady that refused to speak to us, she said the one is 10 and I think the other is 5. So that gave me quite a weird sense as to why is she here in the first place, and is that child really hers? But the 2 ladies that did speak to us, the one is here legally, and the other did not really want to disclose that.
Over and above moving them into shelters, does the city of Johannesburg have a long-term plan to deal with this? Like you're saying, one says she was working, she took ill, could not work, ended up begging on the side of the street. The one woman is saving all the money she makes from this to build a home, or at least in the hopes of building a home at some point. So what is going to be done beyond taking them to this shelter where you pay 8 rand for a meal and a place to sleep for a night?
That is the one thing that I also needed to get out of the MMC today, and she couldn't really tell me, because the city of Johannesburg and the JMPD, they can remove these ladies off the streets, but then they have to then obviously be taken to police stations, and there sometimes they aren't even processed. So it's just a matter of removing them off the streets, and the following day they're right back there because there's no paperwork that actually happens. So there isn't really a concrete plan as to how to remove them off the streets, but it is illegal according to the city of Johannesburg's bylaws. It's illegal for them to be sitting on the streets, specifically for the safety of the children and for their own safety as well. But as to a full concrete plan, there isn't one in place at this point in time.
Does the city of Johannesburg then admit that it is a near impossible situation to resolve completely? Because, like you're saying, you detain these women and the men, and then no sooner than that they're back at a different intersection, at a different traffic light.
That is true. It is literally impossible to try and keep these people away from the traffic lights. And it's impossible as well for us to say that we're going to remove them and then what happens to them? Where do we take them? They go to a shelter overnight. And this is something as well that the MMC mentioned, that even if these ladies or the beggars on the street, even if they do want to be in a shelter and they want to be safe for the night, the problem is some of them are addicted to some other form of substance. So they don't want to be held by the rules of the particular shelter. So then they'll eventually find their way out. So that is now the big problem. It's almost impossible to actually take them off the streets and keep them off the streets.
There's one point I think we must just go back to quickly before I let you go. The issue of the syndicate that was pairing women with children. What is the final word on that, at least from an official level?
When I did try to get an answer from the MMC of Health and Social Development, and she couldn't give me much of an answer, saying that that particular syndicate obviously will have to speak to the Hawks or speak to the police in the city of Johannesburg to find out what exactly is happening there and what is the plan with that. And is it possible that some of these ladies are actually part of this particular syndicate?
Tshegohaco Moagi, thank you.